Welcome to the Mobile Games Playbook in association with Liftoff. Join us as we uncover the latest trends in user acquisition, monetization, and mobile game design.
We've just launched a brand new listener survey, and your feedback will be invaluable in helping us make the Mobile Games Playbook even better. We want to know what you enjoy, what you'd like to hear more of, and how we can continue to bring you the most insightful content. It's super easy to take part. Either click in the link in the podcast description or head over to the Liftoff website, click on resources, and then head to podcast. You'll find a link to the listener survey on that page. And as a thank you for sharing your thoughts, everyone who completes the survey will be entered into a draw to win an Amazon voucher of $150 or £100 or €130, depending on your currency preference. So don't miss out. Your opinions do matter. Please fill out the listener survey today. We really appreciate your input. Hello and welcome to the Mobile Games Playbook. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. This is a podcast all about what makes a great mobile game, what is and isn't working for mobile game designers, and all of the latest trends. I'm your host, Jon Jordan, and joining me today we have two familiar faces from the podcast. We have Kalle Heikkinen and Wilhelm Voutilainen, who are both chief game analysts at Liftoff. How's it going, guys?
Very good. If I go first, super excited to be on the pod again. So, yeah.
Yeah, doing super well as well, and really interesting to go through the awards winners. Exciting times.
So for this episode, we're really working you quite hard. There's quite a lot of stuff to cover because we're looking at the 2025 Mobile AppDev Awards from Liftoff. Everyone loves an award ceremony, and obviously we want to know the winners. So we're going to go through not everything because I think you have a whole bunch of categories. I think there's 9 categories now. But we're going to go through some of those, and for each category there is a winner in the mid-core and a winner in the casual section. So obviously that's sort of interesting because obviously some sort of strategies work for sort of one of those sort of categories, and something very different works for the other one. So hopefully for each sort of category we'll get a good sort of spectrum of what's going on. And I think the other thing you're doing, I don't think we've ever done this on the podcast, however many episodes we've done, we've never talked really about non-gaming apps. So this is the first year you have some non-gaming app categories. So we are going to spend some time looking at that as well, because obviously there's some interesting stuff going on there that may be useful for people even in the game space. Okay, so first category we're going to look at, Wilhelm, I think you're going to lead us on this. So best collaboration events. We've spoken a lot, probably more than anything else, about collaboration events over the years. So best collaboration event, and for the mid-core we have Diablo Immortal versus World of Warcraft. So what made that one stand out?
Yeah, so Diablo and Warcraft, of course, IPs, they have been collaborating throughout the years, like multiple times, because, there's an excellent IP fit and also player demographic fit. And of course, both are Blizzard's RPG games, so, there's, of course, cross-play, players playing both games, so this is a really good fit for that. And in terms of, like, Diablo Immortal, this Eternal War event, which we're talking about, is actually Diablo Immortal's first large collaboration event. And of course, like, you compare Diablo Immortal to Diablo on PC, Diablo Immortal has much more active and robust game live ops, and also naturally this event also took this kind of Diablo and World of Warcraft collaboration to the whole kind of new next level. So the Eternal War event was super high production value event. So not just like a reskin, purchase these bundles, simple task event, but actually had like kind of like gameplay first event. So in short, the event had you collecting these frozen moon points, which would then unlock these milestone rewards in this kind of like overarching menu, and where you would then get these are actually couple of these limited time modes. First of all, like, they were, again, super well implemented, true to the Warcraft IP. One of them was this kind of recreation of this Arathi Basim battleground, familiar from World of Warcraft. And another was this kind of recreation of the legendary battle against Lich King And actually, these were both super cleverly made in a sense that they didn't necessarily mechanically bring anything completely new to Diablo. Actually, because Diablo Immortal, they used their kind of like this familiar limited time modes as a base for those. For example, the Arati Basin Battleground PvP mode, they used Diablo Immortal's existing kind of this limited time game mode, but then kind of like make this feel completely new and not just reskin by having these World of Warcraft elements and mechanics to that. And yeah, they felt really like true to the IP like experiences, and like in terms of like performance, it was pretty clear that the event was made for like more but just like engagement purposes and to celebrate the WoW's 20th anniversary. So most of these really exclusive cool rewards were actually this time earnable completely for free. And of course, like if let's say they could have done it the other way around, that these weapon cosmetics would be like monetized in Diablo fashion through bundles and gachas and so on, but Blizzard clearly chose kind of like this more player-friendly approaches in this one, and of course the player sentiment was like really positive for this event as well.
What I find very interesting about this approach is that usually when we talk about IP collaboration events, it's usually you have the game and then you have something entirely different in that game. The IPs often don't have that much similarities. Of course, sometimes they do, but in this case, it's the same. It's both IPs come from from the mother company from the developer of this base game. So I find that very unique approach to having an IP collaboration event. I guess the lesson that we can all learn from this is that if you have a strong IP portfolio, it's also can be very interesting to have different IPs from that portfolio visit these different games that you have.
Yeah, there's definitely a really good approach in that. And of course, like looking at Diablo Immortal and their collaborations, they're actually now running the second collaboration in the game ever. And now again, super carefully chosen IP. They're collaborating with Berserk, which is like this manga series with lots of gore. So perfect fit for Diablo Immortal. So that's kind of their more kind of unique approach in that sense.
And looking at on the more casual side, we've got Stumble Guys and My Hero Academia. So obviously a very different sort of collaboration sort of there, but talk us through that.
Yeah, so Stumble Guys, of course, having a little bit different approach to Diablo Immortal. So they are more about like having lots of high cadence of constant collaborations. It's kind of like moving the game to being kind of like this metaverse of IPs, which they actually call being this Stumbleverse that they want to like go towards, and kind of similar to Fortnite's and Roblox's approach in that sense. And of course, like sometimes it's hard to choose, okay, which of these Stumble Guys collaborations were the best, but I think the My Hero Academia here was kind of the year's standout collaboration because it integrated these core mechanics of the anime. So I think they had these abilities called like Gwyrks, or something like that. So they actually integrated those into Stumble Guys. And again, like really clever, simple kind of these implementations of they really often they run these kind of like this really cool collaboration themed limited time modes, but now they brought this to kind of the next level and like more having a bit more engaging and bringing new twist by having these My Hero Academia abilities into the game, of course. And what is really interesting also in these Stumble Guys collaborations is always that the map that kind of the collaboration brings usually stays permanently in the game, again bringing it closer to being this metaverse of different IPs.
And I guess it sort of shows as well, as you say, that on the sort of on the mid core you have very sort of prized sort of IP. So obviously the Blizzard thing is specifically on its own sort of pedestal, but you're sort of being a bit more careful there, maybe in terms of how people want to play and how they sort of what you're using the collaboration for. Whereas obviously on these more casual ones, as you say, it is just every month they want one, and it's sort of just sort of getting that cadence through, and everyone's at that point people are not so bothered maybe in the actual collaboration, but just there's something new coming, and that's what keeps people in there. So it's sort of different models.
Yeah, and it also, of course, the game's base team matters. Is your game like really like Diablo Immortal? Is like really has this really specific dark team, but then Stumble Guys is more closer to Fortnite, where there's not really one team. It's like it kind of makes it even better to have multiple teams and IPs. So it really depends on, of course, the game that what kind of approach is better.
Okay, let's move on. So from best collaboration event, we're going to move to best social event. I guess you can also explain the difference between those two things, I suppose. And for the mid-core one, we're looking at League of Legends, Wild Rift, and Battle of Twin Cities.
Yeah, so here, of course, the focus was to finding, how these social layers were uniquely or successfully implemented into this event. So with Wild Rift, the Battle of Twin Cities was the winner here, and it was basically part of this overarching collaboration. So talking about IP collaborations again, but this Arcane Season 2 on Netflix, so the League of Legends Netflix series. But this Battle of Twin Cities kind of like this brought this, because mid-core games in general, they are super social, especially the competitive games, but this event particularly managed to bring a completely kind of new social layer to Wild Rift. So in short, players would align either with Zaun or Piltover, which are the Arcane's two factions, and then they would like cooperatively complete tasks, different, like for example answer Arcane team wishes in the game and so on, and then they would kind of have this kind of like visualized map in the game, and then they will capture these territories, and which of these player factions would capture more territories will then win the match. So having this kind of like this new collaborative communal social layer to the existing like super social games, actually really interesting. Of course, again, having this combination of both seamless IP integration but this fresh social layer.
And then on the casual side, we've got Monopoly Go and Tycoon Racers.
Yeah, so of course, again, like Monopoly Go, I think if we talk about like social events is like one of the kind of like the clear kind of winners of the year. Of course, they started the partner event trend, which is now appeared in like majority of the new highest crossing casual games, becoming one of the key event archetypes. But now actually they kind of like evolved in the partner event even further through this kind of Tycoon Racers event, which is, we can call this kind of like this partner race event format. So in partner events, you're just collaborating with one other player or multiple other players, completing these tasks, but then they thought, okay, how do we make this even more social? Okay, we add the competitive aspect to it as well. So now you're collaborating with 3 other players, so there's team of 4 players total, and then you're competing against other teams and so on. So adding this kind of new social layer. And again, we have been now seeing the other games also implement this similar event to their games.
I actually see this as a very clever way to kind of cater to different kind of player motivations. So they started with the co-op focused partner event, and then they expanded on that with this one that is just has more competitive side to it. And I think that's very smart to kind of like address different kinds of audiences that have different motivations.
And these partner, of course, mechanics seem to be really like, especially on the casual side, but if we go back to the Wild Rift Battle of Twin Cities, it can be seen as a little bit of a partner event itself as well, because there's 2 factions commonly partnering get there. And the really like huge thing which like takes it away from the sort of guild co-op events is that this is like more of a one-off thing. You don't have to be in a guild to participate, so it's more kind of like approachable by the whole player base.
Joining a guild, you sort of often have this big list and you have no idea which one to join, and you just sort of feel like, what's the sort of point? And you join one and then they all leave, and then you sort of feel like that's quite a sort of an undertaking for players, whereas these other things are just obviously much more casual, and you feel like you're getting some rewards out of it. And good point. Okay, so Kalle, best mini game. So I guess that's mini game within a game. We've spoken about that a few times as well. So what we got first? Merge Mansion is our casual title winner here.
That is correct. So Merge Mansion had a really good year in 2024, especially the latter part, and they were very active in kind of experimenting with different kinds of event types, adding new events to their event portfolio, and that has continued to 2025 as well. But in 2024, they added their first ever minigame event, which is called this Secret Supply. And it was a kind of mix of casino-style gameplay with merge gameplay. So interesting kind of a combination of those two things. I will not go to the weeds of explaining how the event works here, but in essence, it's about players pulling this kind of a slot machine lever, so randomized mechanic, you pull it and then these different merge items come out of the machine, and then you trying to find these combinations to combine them, and you as a player have a limited energy to kind of engage with this machine, and there is this kind of like an overheating mechanic as well if you use it too much, and that is monetized and so forth. But this really stood out by adding a really fresh gameplay event, obviously, because it's completely something very different than what the kind of default Merge 2 gameplay you have in Merge Mansion, that can be very slow paced, but in this one you are really like hitting the kind of slot machine in a very kind of a quick pace, and things happen fast, and it's, as I said, it has this kind of like a casino feeling where when you succeed, it's also very visually pleasing experience, and performance wise as well. Like when you look at the revenue numbers for Merge Mansion, we can see that whenever this event is active, it overlaps. It often overlaps with revenue spikes. So definitely you can make the argument that there is a kind of you can link these two together. And after, like, usually with the Merge 2 space, what we have noticed, it is so that the microfinance games, which are the other top Merge 2 games out there, so Seaside Escape and Gossip Harbor, they do something innovative first, and then other games copy them. But then this one was definitely Merge Mansion's own innovation, and we have actually seen that then in the, I think it was Gossip Harbor or was it Seaside Escape? But anyways, the point is that it went kind of the other way around in this case. But yeah, really interesting new event type in Merge Mansion in 2024.
No, it's good you point out, say, the difference in pace there. I guess we've spoken sort of a lot in the past about this sort of people having sort of games and then sort of shoving loads of different games in there, and sometimes that can dilute sort of the overall reason that people are playing these games. But you can, obviously there's been so much around these sort of casino style, and obviously casino is massive on its own, and clearly that's the mechanic that people like, and you can, I can see having a merge and that coming in. How often are they running those events? Is it how regularly are they doing it?
I want to say it's several times a month, so maybe bi-weekly. The answer. And what I want to maybe just add, if I could add one more thing, is that it is very aggressively monetized. So you use the premium currency a lot in this event. So there are kind of like natural drains to your premium currency stash, and then obviously there are loads of offers available to kind of hint to players that, hey, you might need some more gems to engage with this event more.
Okay, and then on the mid-course side, we've got us a victory, Nike. Am I reading this right? Dave the Diver?
Dave the Diver, yeah.
That sounds a mashup.
So a little bit of context. So Dave the Diver was this kind of like a PC console indie hit in, I think it even won the best indie game award in the Game Awards in 2023, if I don't remember wrong. So they had that game, I mean the complete game experience inside Nikke, which, as we all know, is this kind of like a RPG slash shooter game from Asia that is still doing relatively well in for example, in the US. So they had that, and it was really interesting and definitely something that we've never seen before. So you have this like premium indie prestige game, and that is kind of featured in a free-to-play mobile game. So just we wanted to kind of like nominate that also just for the sheer uniqueness of that thing.
Unlike Merge Mansion, there wasn't sort of an attempt to combine the gameplay.
Yeah, I think that the goal probably was to kind of expose the Nika players to this game experience, and then create then sales for the Dave the Diver game.
Totally makes sense. Sort of context that was, it was a really sort of massive indie hit that sort of came out of nowhere, and probably is one of those games that people have heard about, and in passing in the game. If you're a gamer, you probably may have come across videos on it, or you just hear about it. It won those awards, but people maybe not taking that step to actually go and sort of check it out. And obviously, sort of presumably over the years, the price has gone down and it's gone through. So that makes it a sort of perfect sort of crossover in terms of that would be an audience who would go for that sort of indie hit.
That's correct, and maybe they will also try to see that would it get traction on mobile. So the Dave the Diver is not on mobile, so maybe this is kind of like testing the waters. That would an experience like this be something that would interest the mobile audience?
Quite a big category next. Best newcomer. Wilhelm, you're going to run us through what do we have there for the best newcomer games?
Yes, so for the mid-core side, we have the Pokemon TCG Pocket, which was, I would say, quite clear winner there. If we look at the performance, extremely well performed, especially in Japan, and doing like fine in US too still. So average sustained grossing rank 7 in US and 2 in Japan currently. And of course, like I would say, one of the reasons being the success is of course, the IP. It's a really perfect IP for this kind of game, kind of similar that you had with Pokemon Go. And it was interesting that they did not try to create anything completely new, but the approach was kind of new on mobile. So they really focused the game not so much about the TCG, the combat and so on, the gameplay, but just the focus was on opening packs, collecting these cards, and almost it's a mix of casual and mid-core game in that sense. For many of these players, it's more of this kind of like casual app instead of a game almost, where you go, you open the gacha pack, you collect the cards and so on. You have like a few quick sessions per day, but it keeps the retention, keeps you coming every day because it's so well implemented. And of course, taps into the nostalgia because everybody pretty much knows what Pokemon cards are, but now it's, you can actually open cards for free and get that kind of like good experience. But of course then for the, let's say for the more mid-core players, there is still the possibility to play the gameplay, play with the cards and so on. And again, it's made to be much more approachable because it's a simplified version of the original Pokemon TCG game, which is for some players can be pretty hard to, especially on physical, try to get into that. So again, like for me, especially it was the first time ever I got to play the actual play with the cards as well. So. And simplified version, that I think it's a clever approach. And of course, like if we look at the monetization, then again, focusing on the subscription plan first, and then of course you can purchase the premium currency to open more packs, but the subscription plan is like really big part of it, kind of like that you have in the non-gaming apps as well. So that's an interesting approach.
So lots of people saying exactly what you were saying, sort of lots of nostalgia for their youth. And just opening packs and not playing the game at all. And you're saying just sort of reliving that sort of experience of I've got this one. Blah, blah. So yeah, I think it's over $1 billion now, isn't it?
I think they have created a very powerful kind of a daily logging habit for people to just open the app and get the daily packs, rewards, whatever. And then, I can imagine that there's tons of players who don't engage with the game beyond that.
And then on the casual side, what was the best newcomer.
So Domino Dreams from Superplay, of course, it was a remarkable year for the company. They scaled both dice streams, scaled to Sustained Crossing 30, so that was the casual casino game, but then as well their newest game, Domino Dreams, scaled and broke almost Sustained Crossing 50, which is, they had. It was kind of common performance trend for successful casual games. Kind of slow launch, optimizing the game, and then scaling with downloads, and the revenue is closely following. And it's still in crossing 60 or so on. And to go it really quickly, basically. Right now, the highest crossing Domino game itself, but the gameplay itself is kind of close to what you have in the solitaire titles, which is again one of the really trending genres with the Disney solitaire and so on. But the gameplay being kind of close to that, and then kind of the common casual game approach. You have the level-based kind of levels, and then you have the renovation progression, and as well using the familiar kind of the dice streams team, and also some of the events are actually similar for the dice streams as well. They have the trail events, which again go a little bit into the social casino side there as well. So using the strengths from their top game.
And the final games category we're looking at is the big evolvers. We used to call that sort of most improved, but maybe maybe that sounds a bit. It's better to be an evolver than an improver. Okay, so I guess on the mid-core side, Brawl Stars was a pretty obvious choice, I guess.
Absolutely, they managed to completely turn the boat after the pretty high decline of 2022 and 2023, and even some daily ranks. I think it managed to even surpass some of the daily revenues of the launch levels, and also keep those launch revenue levels for around I think total of 6 months, which is an incredible feat. And of course, this was we could talk about this for 5 hours, what kind of things they did, but they added kind of to this whole bold new direction of content. So combination of feature changes, events, collaboration events. Supercell hasn't done collaboration that much in the past. Now they really embraced collaborations and bringing these new game modes. So these were of course the main parts of that. But if we look at the performance spikes themselves and when the performance the highest, that was mostly due to the kind of the events. So they had these overarching seasons, of course overarching events and teams have it's a really trending and really works in mid-core games, so they brought those. They had the really great collaboration events. For example, the SpongeBob and Godzilla were great successes. They were not just reskins, but actually brought actual gameplay to the game as well. Had kind of these event-specific progression mechanics as well. So again, bringing more engagement, making the event feel more special and so on. And just with all these different kind of modes, kept the gameplay fresh and and so on.
As you say, they made some pretty substantial changes to pretty much almost everything in the game. I mean, not quite the basic gameplay, but they really sort of reworked that game. And I guess it does go to show that games don't necessarily need to be in. I mean, it wasn't in terminal decline clearly because it sort of successfully rebooted itself. But when you have a game that's in decline, and that game was in decline for getting on for a year, I mean, certainly over 6 months, and they really were trying lots of things. It just wasn't working at all. But they still sort of kept going. So there is that sort of if you really want to sort of change the trajectory of a game, you really get to grips with it, and you really. Part of that is really finding out what the audience want and not doing necessarily what you as the game developer think is going to work. You really have to sort of obviously look at what the audience are playing and spending on. So yeah, it's quite amazing how even at that very high level how successful it was, and then how low it went, and how I think they're even the most successful they've ever been. I think now, aren't they, with their sort of reboot? So they've really taken it.
I think listening to the community and adapting based on their feedback, of course, one of the key things. For just Brawl Stars, for many titles. And
then what do we have on the casual side? Seaside Escape.
Yes. So again, a casual Merge 2 title, and this is really a live ops story. So they definitely, when you look at the game product side, what they did 2024, so they were following the latest event trends. From these digging events, as we call in Game Refinery, or excavation events, to social win streak challenges, and just very good at rolling out fresh content on a constant basis. So if the Brawl Stars story is kind of like a radical pivot story, then I think Seaside Escape was more about kind of consistency and timing and looking at market trends, reading them correctly, and then refining the game experience based on that. And the result has been quite remarkable. So steady revenue climbs that has pushed the game to, I think, at least top 40 grossing, or not even higher. So that just proves that I kind of like this kind of a quiet evolver can also go very big. So really good example of scaling up in this very competitive genre nowadays by just having a stellar event portfolio and evolving that event portfolio. So really good job. And obviously Microfan, as we already mentioned, they have other hit Merge 2 games, so namely the Gossip Harbor, which has been had a very good year in 2024, and I would say that behind that game's success as well has been the really solid job on the live ops front.
I guess that's one of the things about sort of live ops is that sort of marginal improvements can really add up over time. You really get this sort of compounding, improving your retention and monetization, and over time that means you spend more on advertising, and then suddenly really builds up. I'm going to say we're on to the non-gaming apps. So maybe you wanted to still talk about games, but no, we're going to talk about non-gaming apps now. I know how desperate you are to talk about games. So for the non-gaming apps, so first time you've been looking at these in terms of the awards, and we have best feature innovation, which went to DraftKings. So do you want to tell us a bit about what DraftKings has been doing?
For sure. So for those who don't know, DraftKings is one of the biggest iGaming platforms out there, operating in the US. So it's mainly a sports betting app, but they do have casino component as well, and also daily fantasy league. But they've added a stats hub feature, and this is really kind of like a directed to users who want to just know about the data and statistics when they're making the betting predictions. So if you want things like consistency sheets on line moves and stuff like that, now this is the kind of feature that gives tons of data to users when they're kind of pondering on what kind of bets to do. So this stood out because looking at some of the top iGaming apps, this is not kind of like a staple feature. Not all of even the top apps have these kinds of like dedicated spaces where you can look at the different sports and markets kind of statistics, and even if they do, they tend to be just more underwhelming than what DraftKings has done with the stats hub. So kind of like very good job in making one of the best kind of statistics features that we've seen in iGaming apps.
And I guess that's a lot about sort of differentiating compared to competing apps, because not being an expert in that field at all, but I imagine in terms of the actual odds you get broadly the same across every app you do, because they're all checking each other, so it's you sort of don't get any edge from that point of view. But in terms of feeling like, this is the the more serious app, or this that data, maybe people aren't even using it, but it just feels like this is sort of the place to go. Well, why would I go anywhere else? Yeah. Okay, best use of engagement features, and the winner was Trip.com.
Trip.com's Trip Genie AI assistant was the winner here. So this is an AI-powered travel assistant. Oh yeah, Trip.com. If the name does not kind of reveal what kind of app we're talking about. It's a travel app, booking app. So if you're going for a travel, then you have obviously several options like booking.com, hotels.com, but then there is also trip.com. But yeah, they have added this AI-powered travel assistant feature that basically just turned made the trip planning phase into a kind of a more personalized and interactive experience. So if you think about AI chatbots and stuff like that, then this is what we're talking about. So it's able to give users travel recommendations. So if you give give it some prompts like, yeah, I'm going to Italy, give me kind of like a 7-day itinerary and like what kind of places I would need to visit and where should I stay and stuff like that. And then, of course, you can think that, okay, well, can't ChatGPT do the same thing? And yes, the answer is yes. But the thing is that because it's in the Trip.com app, you have a seamless integration into booking those hotels. You just have one tab and you have booked the hotel that it's suggesting for you. So kind of a very frictionless and convenient way for users to make the bookings via the.
We're going to see, obviously, pretty much every app is going to have these sort of things, and every AI agent's going to be able to sort of do these sort of operations. But I guess it sort of makes sense to people who to do it in the app, sort of give them a sense of, one, as you say, the sort of user experience is probably smoother and better integrated, and it feels like they're a little bit more in control. Because I guess there's always that nervousness that if you just tell the ChatGPT to go and do something and you're not fully aware, it's booked you, I don't know, Manchester in America rather than Manchester in the UK or something,
That's true, and like you said, I'm sure that many of Trip.com's competitors will have this feature in the future, and some of them might already have it. But currently, that's not the story. So if you go to Booking.com and for some of these other platforms, they don't have a similar type of feature.
Okay, next we have excellence in social features, which I guess was probably quite competitive, and you've given it to Snapchat.
Yes, we give it to Snapchat's personalized Snap Map homes. So Snapchat added this social feature where users can design their own virtual homes on the Snap Map. So for people who have not used Snapchat, it's not only about messaging with other people, but you also have this map feature that you can use. And onto that map, you're now able to kind of like design your own mini home that represents you. So it's very customizable. You can show off your personality with the homes, and really adds a kind of fresh layer of self-expression to the app experience. Of course, this is not the first time that Snapchat adds something related to cosmetics and stuff like that. They have a lot of stuff going on with the avatar personalization and customization, but this is kind of like an additional way to make the kind of the map feature more engaging. So now the kind of the map that previously maybe could be seen more as like a utility tool, but now it's more of this kind of like a social feature. So I find that very interesting and makes using the Snap feature just that much more compelling. So very interesting feature.
And then our final award is, we've mentioned it already, I suppose, in passing, but excellence in AI-powered features. So I guess Pinterest did a really good job that they won the actual AI-powered feature award.
Yes, that is true. So we have Pinterest as a as the winner here. So here, one of the most interesting thing was that with the Pinterest AI, users can now generate custom backgrounds to their product images. So meaning that if you have let's say a plain photo of a chair or something that you have saved or you're trying to sell or something like that, then the AI can place it in a very beautifully decorated room scene for you. So small touch, but delights the users and makes kind of the picture much more engaging. So that's a kind of one side of it. Then they also added very, very personalized content recommendations. So very much kind of learns your taste in Pinterest and is then able to tailor the home feed and curate it for you in a very compelling way. And maybe like the most visible thing related to this has been that Pinterest has introduced these creative tools like an AI-assisted collage generator that helps the users to mash up these different pins. So if you use Pinterest and you like something, you always pin it. And with this AI collage feature, you can then mash them up into these kind of like very stylish vision boards very easily. And it's just not a minor trick, but some reports actually reported by Pinterest by themselves have shown that these AI-generated collages have tripled the user engagement compared to the regular pins. So it's really hinting at the fact that users really love playing around with this new feature. So that's why Pinterest won our Excellence in AI-powered features.
Cool. I guess that's going to be a pretty competitive one over the coming years. as you basically have to look at every app, because every app's using AI. But for this year, we will say thank you very much to Wilhelm and Kalle for their expertise and for running us through the winners of the 2025 awards. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for watching, listening, however you are consuming the podcast. Remember, every episode we're delving into what's going on in the world of mobile games, and now occasional detour to the world of mobile apps. Maybe some more of that in the future. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.